Hello everyone, how are you doing today? Thought I'd get another video out showing some updates and a couple creations by other authors and just a bit of other things. Start with, I got more done on this base. I kind of ended up redesigning a good chunk of this side of it so far. I do plan on doing more of that on this side yet. Um, just kind of putting some parts in place and seeing how things are going to come out. But I need to change my main body line on this side as it's kind of interfering, well, kind of covering up part of the hangar doors. I don't think this would really affect getting anything in there or not, but I don't like my little line there. So I do want to fix that up. But it is coming along pretty good, and some areas of it I think are kind of neat. I don't know how well this fits into the Martian look. It feels like it's not quite as industrial feeling as I would like it to be yet. So I might try to do something a little bit more with that as well. But other than that, it is coming along pretty good. And a couple little design notes on this too. You see these pillars that has over in these locations. Um, those aren't for looks. Those are actually for structural integrity, which I thought was kind of cool. And I really love having like these options in the game too, where you actually got to be conscious of that. Unlike Minecraft, that you can just build whatever wherever you want. This one I got to pay attention to how it's going to stand up and the structure is going to stay there and whatnot. And it's just cool having all these options in there. And especially with all the blocks and the shaping that you can do now, holy smokes. I mean, if you know the blocks and the angles and all that stuff, it's just, I mean, you can't do everything. There's certain degree angles you're just not going to be able to do. Basically, you can do 45s and you can do 22.5s, but that still gives you a lot of options to build stuff with. To go beyond those angles, say like the angles you need to build a good looking Star Destroyer or something like that, you need some different angles, like maybe 11.25 degree angle. That would be very hard to do with the way the blocks work currently. It would almost need like an entirely different system for that. So I have seen a couple other games kind of pull that off, but I don't know how that would work into this game. And I don't really know if this game needs it because, I mean, literally it's got so much possibilities already. Also, if you haven't known already, I did hear that Alpha 11 might be public on Monday. That's going to add in some more neat options such as CV to CV docking and SV to HV docking. Now that's kind of like backwards from what it kind of is currently. Well, another option, I'll put it that way, where currently it was set up where you could dock HVs to SVs, but you'll be able to flip that around. And I'll show you examples of all that stuff as well. To start with here, I wanted to show a couple creations that are up on the workshop and both fairly new. One is by CrazyZ, and this is the LCV Villain. This is a small tier 2 fighter, or CPU tier 2. Comes equipped with a bunch of stuff. You have cargo, ammo, fridge, O2. Now this one doesn't have any interior. It's a pretty small ship. And some pretty doors here that cover all this up here too. I was just checking it out. And some really neat features. It has a lot of guns on it too. So you got 4 rocket launchers and 4 Gatling guns, and some really cool method with LCDs on here. For instance, here, let me get the HUD back on. Let me take this up in the air a minute here. Now I'm just in creative right now too, so I don't have like the weights and volumes or anything working at the moment, but I'm positive the ship would have no issues whatsoever with that. It's a very agile ship. But check this out. It's got a couple custom controls in here for spotlight, exterior lights. When I turn those on, if you take a look at the HUD now, It actually pops them up right there on the HUD display, right kind of in front of you. I like that. In fact, CrazyZ, I'm going to probably steal that from you and try to put that on some of my own ships as well in the future here. Awesome idea, and also a very, very cool ship. Definitely liking this a lot. The looks and design of it are just I don't know. It's exotic and just very well detailed, and it just I think I made mention when I was chatting with CrazyZ a little bit too. I almost want to creel it up because I think this would be a very easy thing I could convert over to creel coloring. I probably won't do it, but I'm just saying it's cool. It's got that bug-like look a bit to it, I think, and it's just a very, very nicely detailed ship. Awesome work on this. Next one here, I'm going to turn this off just so I shut off the spotlights right now. Next one is by MMK 111. Now I've looked at something of his in the past, and that was the steampunk camper that I showed a while back, and that was a amazing looking design, different theme, extremely detailed, and really well executed for the look. So then I'm looking at his latest release, and holy smokes, here it is again. Different theme. It's not the steampunk, but this one's like hardcore industrial look, and it is just extremely well pulled off. It's everywhere I look on this ship. It is just detailed as can be. I mean, when I look at other people's ships too, I mentally I think on what I would have done differently if it was my own ship, or maybe places that could have had some detail that didn't. On this ship here, literally, I'm just, I got nothing. I got, how would I, if this was my ship, how would I try to make it look better than this? I don't know of any way I could do that. So that means, yeah, wow, this is just straight up hitting it. It's just, there's just no room that I can even think of, hardly at all, to really do anything more to this ship to make it look better than it is. And the exterior isn't all of it. The interior is pretty insane as well. Apologize, I don't have this on. There we go. Well, here it is, all on with the thrusters and everything as well. And yeah, some use of exterior texture lights as well, and things to also make it look pretty cool at nighttime too. I do like to see just stuff to look at night. It shines through quite well that way. So on the interior as well, this interior is quite deluxe. It has a bunch of switches and very fancy LCDs and very fancy layouts and coloring and texturing and, well, just literally everything. And these adjustable type signs like this, that is just cool, and they're all over the place too. I mean, the different switches for controlling this, that, and the other stuff. And check this out. This I thought was awfully cool too. The placement of the warp core, but it's got a core in front of it and a piece of glass, an LCD projected on the glass, and on the side. Just that looks killer. It just looks so killer. Then of course a drone hatch, 32K volume storage on its main cargo. Just immaculate ship. So you might want to check this one out too. I'm going to leave links to both of these on the video description, so you can take a look at these ships. Very, very impressed. Now this one, I noticed on the post that it was mentioned that this might be like the last of the 10.5 era ships. and that basically the idea that it can't work moving forward. And well, I think you're in luck because it does work just fine moving forward, with a little bit of modification. So on this one here, one of the biggest things I did is I put on the Martian orange color instead of the yellow, and that's like pretty much it. I added in 4 of the tier 4 CPU blocks, and I removed all the RCS. Just kind of did a mass remove. Now that did screw up some of the interior aesthetics, because the RCS were actually kind of used as I don't know, some detail items as well. So they're not there right now, so it looks like stuff's floating. And I think I took out at least 1 too many generators. But the big thing is this currently has 0 RCS in it now. And it is on CPU tiers. I'm sitting at 117,000, which puts it at 94.1% efficiency. How does it fly? Well, let me tell you, it flies really, really, really good. Probably faster than you would ever necessarily want it to, but then again, this is a hauler, and once it has 32K of storage up on it, it will definitely need more thrust. Well, it won't need more than it's got, but I'm just saying it will slow the ship down some. But seriously, it flies really, really good, and this absolutely can be a tier 4 ship without any issue, and work moving forward. So again, awesome design. This is the DS600 on the workshop, and there'll be a link for this one as well. Well, not this modified color one, but the original one. I like to tinker with stuff, so I just wanted to see real quick what it would look like with the orange, and how well it would match the look I've been trying to go for the Martians. And quite frankly, I mean, even without doing any other changes at all, it fits pretty well already. So that is cool. Some other things. One, it was mentioned on comments about the Gigacore. This poor ship I've neglected for a very, very long time. I think once Alpha 10 or Alpha 11 is out, I'm going to at some point here try to revamp this ship, and I'll probably do some changes to the body. Obviously, I got to address the storage, probably get a shield in it, things like that, and I might have to rework these thruster pods some. When I first built this ship, it was a concept as well, as I wanted. I just discovered the N key tools of copying and pasting, believe it or not, when I built this ship. I didn't use that on prior ships. Like even the Cerberus PSV, the first Cerberus that I built, I didn't know I could copy those legs over and stuff like that, or set up symmetry when I did it. And I had to manually build each of those legs at different angles because, well, I was an idiot and didn't look up everything and what was in the game. It cost me a lot of time. This one, I discovered that, and basically I built one of these thruster housings and set it up so I could rotate it in 4 directions, and therefore popping them in 4 different locations, which was a huge time saver on building the ship. In fact, other parts were also copied and pasted, like this chunk here versus this chunk here, etc. Now, one thing I always wish the N keys would, or the tools would do, is when you actually make a part, if you were to be able to flip it. Like say I made a leg that was specific for the left side of the ship. If I could take that, copy it, and then flip it to the right side, or same thing going for front, back, top, down, that would be a really neat option. It's not necessarily needed if you're using symmetry, but it would still be useful and very helpful. In fact, a lot of times I might build things without symmetry on for a bit if I could copy them over from right to left. And my biggest issue that I've got with symmetry, and it's really minor. Let me show you just an example. Um, when you put on symmetry on something, what drives me nuts is if I have to work close to the line of symmetry, this texture here is just it makes it really hard to see through it. Um, and I don't like to work on it when I'm especially very close to my symmetry line. It's a pain in the butt. Um, and it just has to do with the texture that's being used on there. Actually, what I would prefer is something that you could tell where the symmetry line is, but it's barely noticeable. I mean, if you're looking at it, maybe if it was just a smooth texture that was tinted a little bit different, so it would be obvious that your line's there, but not disrupt or do as least amount of disruption as possible to actually the visuals you're seeing through it. I think that would be a nice little change in the game. Just, I mean, it's very minor, not anything that's needed, but it just, to me, it makes sense. This is just, it's a little too overpowering of a texture, and I don't really agree with like the pattern and stuff that it's got on it. Another thing that was brought up too, and this was on the base, and it has to do with materials being used. This one is built of carbon substrate at the time, and I thought that was a good plan. But it also could be concrete. Now, both materials are typically easy to get. Now, carbon substrate's easy to get on temperate planets like this one. There's a lot of trees around, not hard to do. It's not as easy to get on other types of planets. And where concrete might be an easier way to do that. That's basically what the comment was saying, that trees are, you can run out of trees fast on certain kinds of planets. So I was basically weighing it. Should this be concrete or should this be carbon substrate in its design? Keep in mind this base is going to be designed to be inexpensive and not defend itself and depend on these point defense systems around the area to defend it. But here's how I'm kind of looking at it. As one big issue I've got with concrete, and really the only issue I've got with concrete, is the textures allowed for them. If I use concrete textures, half the textures or probably 2/3 of the textures I would like to use for this base aren't available. And I can't make it look as good if I use concrete. On small structures, like I used concrete on this one, but it didn't have that much surface area to really have to texture. And even on a lot of these areas that are kind of, you can't texture them really with anything because nothing really lines up very well. If you take a look at that actual texture there, it's actually carpet that I've got here, because it's the only smooth texture in the entire lineup of concrete textures. It does not have my base metals that I would typically use, or a lot of the texture lights, or a lot of the other textures in general. It's got some, but not all of them. So doing something of this size in concrete, it would cause it, like me as an author, not to be able to make it as good looking as I think it could be. And that bugs me. So that's why I still want to kind of go with the carbon substrate. And then there's another big issue though. If you convert a base like this, like if I textured it all like this and then I switched it to concrete, it would totally screw all the textures. It would look terrible. I've done it before on past bases and it was a disaster, and I had to basically pretty much reskin the entire base to make them look right again. So that is one issue I've got, and I guess I understand why they have different textures allowed for different materials. Maybe so they can have more textures in total, but it's kind of a pain in the butt to work with too, and it's like one of the design decisions I'm making on what materials I'm building stuff out of. And I gotta say that Although concrete, I think most bases ought to be built out of, due to the fact that all the other things you're going to build don't use concrete. You know, your HVs, CVs, SVs, they don't touch concrete. So you can reserve your concrete for bases, but the texturing just hurts it. And I hate doing it that way. I just hate making things look worse than they could, for the simple fact of not having the textures available that I would want to use for it. Now, there was some talk on the latest dev Q&A that Excalibur hosted, and that you might be able to set up your own custom texture palettes, kind of like the color palettes are now, in which you can kind of pick and choose, I'm guessing, on what textures you would like to use on what. Now, that would fix all of this, and then I wouldn't care anymore about the material so much. And that's like the biggest hang up on this, on why I wouldn't go to concrete, or why I don't want to go to concrete on it, is because of the texturing. So there's that point. Another little quick thing is, this was my first attempt at building a Martian starter base, and I honestly didn't like it, so I kind of stopped working on it, and then that's when I decided to build something different. And this one, big issues I had with it is I forgot about solar panels when I was building it, so it didn't actually have any locations currently to add solar panels, and I don't know. Then I was doing some weird wasting space up here and things, and didn't have a very big landing area, and just one thing after another. I was just like, no, this is just bunk. I'm done with it. I'm gonna start again and come up with something I think that would work out better. Granted, I got a little bit bigger in the process too, but I think this space would be much more efficient, especially with docking space, and also have more hangar area as well. Let's see, something else was brought up here too. Oh yes, on moving forward, there's going to be a lot more specific types of docking. In fact, most things are getting opened up. Now, for instance, with 10.6, they added in the feature where you could dock HVs to SVs. So that's this joint effort with T-Rex here, where he built the tank, I built the SV. That's really cool, and it allows for some really unique and different designs. But now you're going to be able to also dock SVs to HVs. So I was kind of thinking on what kind of creation would you do with that. So that's what this is some old thing I never completed. This was the Fat Boy Experimental, which was actually in the game Supreme Commander Forged Alliance. I was kind of doing a replica of it. I never did finish it. But when I was building it, I was thinking, how cool would it be if you could take like an SV and like land it on an HV. And well, now you can. So actually this design actually could, or something like this design actually could work moving forward. When I was first building it, though, I just thought it was just wasteful. And to actually use it in game, it would seem like it was expensive and probably wouldn't have the functionality you'd want. But, you know, you could build HV landing platforms for SVs. Speaking of docking one thing to another, you can also, moving forward here, dock CVs to CVs. Holy smokes, does that open up some possibilities, let me tell you. Now I've got ideas of, a loose idea of building like some kind of space-only frame structure CV that's specially designed to take in more class-specific CVs and dock them to it and make it look like it's all one ship in the end. Things like that. I mean, it's all possible now. And it's like, oh my God, I'm almost in builder's overload right now, but I don't have enough time to build. So, yeah, it's crazy. Another thing that was brought up too is, would this fit inside the Tashi? And I got an answer. And, oh, what's going on? Power. Huh. How weird. I just did this. Now I can't fly? Huh. I don't know what... Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm a complete idiot. No? Yes, I am a complete idiot. I jumped in the tank expecting to fly. Whoopsie. Sorry about that. Man, yeah. Sometimes I really do some dumb things, let me tell you. I say some things wrong, too. I've played a couple of my own videos now, and I realize I screwed up words a lot of times or said things wrong, and I apologize for that. I do this all on the fly. It's not scripted or pre-rehearsed, and I make errors. So try, point out errors that I make, but yeah, keep in mind I'm not that good at this. So, but as in the answer, yes, it can fly into the Tashi. It's a very tight fit, and you have to be accurate, but it can fly in and land inside the ship. Now, speaking of this ship, last week or in a past video, essentially, I went through and I gutted the RCS and added CPU tier blocks. On this version of the ship, I've got the same thing going on. If I can find it. Yeah, so I got some, geez, I'm all over the place. I got some CPU blocks in here and I gutted all the RCS. Last time I flew it in that condition, it flew too fast. It was so quick that it was almost troubling. And I thought I was going to need to remove a lot of thrusters. So, there's a ship. I can't take off because of this combo down here in the hangar. Huh. That's something I didn't realize. So I was trying to figure out how all this works, and I think the problem I've got right now is that this tank is docked to the SV, and therefore it's not letting me take off because it's not docked to the CV. So let me see if that's the truth. So I think I didn't hear the noise. Oh, you know what? This doesn't have ground docking because it was specifically designed to dock on the top. Oh man. Oh man. Well, here, let me fly this out of here a second. Sorry about all this. Didn't realize I was going to run into that problem there. So let me get back over here. There we go. Okay. And now the ship flies about how I would expect it to fly. It is far less twitchy and smoother flying around here. So I'm pretty happy about that. So the flight model got adjusted some, especially with the CVs, and it seems like the thrusters that I've got on here seems about appropriate now, where before it seemed like I had far too many and it was too twitchy and not smooth at all. But now it feels about right. I wouldn't expect it to turn any faster than what it is currently, or roll faster, things like that. But it feels pretty good at this point in time. So I got to say I'm pretty happy with that as a whole. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Probably be back Monday or Tuesday next week with some updates and show you some more stuff, and might get hopefully get a lot of progress done on this building and get this more tweaked out. I don't know if it'll be finished by Monday or not, but I'll see. And then I want to start digging into some older creations, hit the Basilisk again, the Gigacore again. and a bunch of other things to update. But some of the updates I think are going to be fairly quick, such as like the Tashi, for instance, going to Alpha 11. That's not going to require much work at all. So that's a cool thing. Anyway, y'all have a good weekend. Hope you enjoyed this, and see you later.